All right, this is the Meaning of Maggie Chapter 18, Part 2. I realized I hadn't been alone in my mission. All 5 of us were trying to fix Dad. At that moment, Mom burst back in through the doors. Maggie, it's still your birthday. I wiped the tears from my eyes. Just a couple more hours. Tiffany came back just in time to roll her eyes. Did you get 15 whole days before today? 14. Today doesn't count. Mom reached into her bag again. Well, I brought you one of your presents. I meant to give it to you before your class, but she handed me the package, and I felt more terrible than I have ever felt in my life. I felt terrible as a rush of remembering reminded me of the big deal I'd made out of my scarf before. I looked away. I don't deserve any gifts. I'm a horrible, horrible person. That's what I've been saying all along, Tiffany said. Mom shot her a death stare and sat next to me on the bench. Of course you deserve it. Here, open it. I unpeeled the wrapping paper and pulled out the most beautiful leather-bound journal I'd ever seen. It smelled old and new at the same time, and the pages were yellow, like the paper the Declaration of Independence was written on. The paper was clearly for big deal writing. I pushed it away. I can't take this. It's too nice. Mom pushed it back. Exactly. You need a really nice journal to write your memoir in. This was the single best gift I'd ever received on the single worst day of my entire life. I hugged the journal close, and then I hugged Mom, and then I went to hug Tiffany, but then I remembered that I hated her. Mom gave Layla change for the vending machine, and she bought us 4 Otis Spuntenmeyer cookies, which were delicious. Mom asked around the waiting room to see if anyone had matches, and an old man with a pipe let her have one of his. So she stuck it in my cookie, and told me to make a wish. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and wished for Dad to be okay. And it worked. An hour later, the nurse came and got us. We all walked down the hall, through 2 giant doors, and down another hall. Mom held my hand and covered my eyes as we walked past a scary row of rooms. But even though I couldn't see, I could still smell the serious sick coming from inside. When we got to Dad's room, Mom uncovered my eyes, pulled back the curtain, and there he was. Dad smiled. I need a cocktail. Layla ran for his neck. Tiffany ran for his waist, and I ran for his legs, because it was the only place left to run to. He wiggled what he could wiggle. Come on, girls. What are you trying to do? Kill me? Tiffany punched him in the stomach. Not funny. Dad pushed us all away. Everyone calm down. I'm fine. I looked around the room. Beeping machines, dripping bags, needles taped to his arms. He didn't look fine. The doctor came in a few minutes later and told us what happened. Dad had gotten an infection that turned into a bigger infection that had caused a seizure. They had him on the right medication now, but he'd have to stay at least a week to get the full round of drugs that he needed. There's nothing to worry about, the doctor promised. This is just what happens as the disease progresses. But we know how to treat this part. Dad squeezed my hand and said, Doc, at least tell me you can get me medical marijuana. The doctor laughed. but quickly became a doctor again and sternly said, "No." Then Dad got really tired, so we went back to the waiting room so he could get some rest. It was way past all of our bedtimes. Mom dug around in her purse for her keys. "You girls go home. I'll stay with Dad." Layla crossed her arms. "We're not going anywhere, Mom." "Yeah," Tiffany nodded. "As long as Dad's here, we're here." I got kind of excited. "We can build a blanket fort." Mom shook her head. "No, just go home and get some rest. You can come back first thing in the morning." Layla refused. "No way, Mom." Tiffany did too. "We're not leaving you in this scary place." "Yeah, lady," I said. "We're like the 5 Musketeers. All for one and one for all." Mom finally caved. "Okay, go home and get what you need, then come back and we'll figure something out." As soon as we got home, we rushed inside, grabbed everything we needed. I went to the pantry first and got the necessities: Little Debbie's, fruit snacks, granola bars, and then I went to the fridge and found juice boxes and a bottle of mixer just in case Dad was serious about the cocktail. Layla took sleeping bags and Tiffany took pillows, and I packed my PJs, a couple of changes of clothes, and a few hundred pens. But when Layla and I were ready to go, Tiffany was nowhere to be found. I went into Dad's bathroom and found her sobbing over the sink, hugging a bottle of Listerine. Okay, I have to admit it. At first, I was kind of relieved to see her crying. I felt like it gave me permission to do it too. But as soon as she saw me, her sobs turned to yells, and she ordered me to leave. I didn't leave. I stood there, cautiously, like I was standing in front of an angry bear that might charge at me any second. Since I didn't have any honey, I tried to calm her down with words. "Mom says everything's going to be okay." Tiffany was opening every drawer looking for something. "Dad needs floss. Do you see any floss? Dad didn't floss." And she knew it. "Dad doesn't floss," I said carefully. She slammed a drawer. "Well, he should. His teeth are going to rot out of his head." She slammed more drawers like a crazy person. "Tiffany, stop. You're freaking me out." "You're freaked out. You weren't even here. You didn't see him." "Stop it. You're scaring me." Her eyes filled with more angry tears. "Good. Now you know how I felt." Layla came in and glared at us both. "Stop it, you two. Come on. Mom needs us." We walked back out through Mom and Dad's room, and I saw what I'd missed on the way in. Dad's favorite Eric Clapton shirt ripped to pieces on the floor. Stretcher wheel marks in the carpet. Needle caps everywhere. And Dad's wheelchair waiting for him next to the TV. Layla told us to go get in the car, so we got in the car. Tiffany immediately began fixing her makeup in the mirror. "Layla is taking this big sister thing way too far." "No kidding," I agreed. "She's not the boss of us." And just like that, Tiffany and I were back on neutral ground until the next masking tape line was drawn down the middle of our room. 5 minutes later, Layla appeared, carrying Dad's folded up wheelchair and a giant bag of Hershey Kisses. And not to be mean, but she had crazy in her eyes. Tiffany rolled down her window. What are you doing?" Layla opened the back door and crammed the chair and the Kisses next to me. "Dad's going to need his chair eventually, and he loves Hershey Kisses. I leave 3 for him to have after lunch every day." Tiffany shook her head. "Well, it's a good thing you're bringing 3,000 then." I laughed. Tiffany's meanness was actually pretty entertaining when it wasn't directed at me. We rode back to the hospital in silence. Tiffany hugged Dad's Listerine bottle while I sat as still as possible. not able to move a muscle because of Dad's chair. I couldn't even reach for the Hershey's Kisses. Back in the waiting room, Mom had built a blanket fort on the floor and was asleep in Dad's room in the chair next to him. Tiffany stretched out her giraffe legs and fell asleep almost instantly. I thought of the disaster in Mom and Dad's room and hoped she was going to dream about something good, like being crowned homecoming queen or prom queen or whatever other kind of queen hot girls get crowned in high school. Layla fell asleep next. It was weird seeing her because even in her sleep, she looked perfect, and she didn't look crazy or scared. Not even a little. When Mom came in to check on us, I didn't want her to worry, so I pretended I was asleep too. She leaned over and kissed my forehead. Good night, Maggie. Busted. I opened an eye and looked at her leaning over us. I could see every freckle on her tired face. Good night, Mom, I whispered. There is one more part. I just can't finish it in this 15 minutes. So look for part 3, and that will be the final part of chapter 18.